What's up guys, C93 here, and today we're going to be talking about rogue covenants and swapping from covenant to covenant. Now I have been every one of them since the Xpac released, and let me tell you, the catch-up mechanic can be really good or can take a little while, depending on how hard you want to push for it. So in this video, we're going to go over swapping covenants, each covenant ability for rogues, my personal favorite ones, and which ones are currently the top tier. Now first off, we're going to talk about swapping covenants. Say you picked a covenant, you're not really feeling it, you don't like the gear, you don't like the mount, you don't like the ability, whatever it may be. To change covenants, all you have to do is go to Oribos, go to the enclave where all the covenants are, go up, talk to the guy, say yes, I am sure. He's going to ask you 2 or 3 times, and then you leave your other covenant and you join theirs. So if you're still not sure what covenant you want, you can talk to each of the leaders and they'll give you an option to see their abilities, their gear, a little preview of their soul binds, and you can see which one you want to feel out, which one you want to go for from there. Now let's talk about what you lose when you switch covenants. Now if you have anima, renown, gear, mounts, all that stuff goes away when you switch covenants. So you have to restart your renown, you restart with 0 anima, you restart with no sanctum upgrades. However, all the upgrades you got in the previous covenant stays. So if you ever want to go back to the covenant you were before, you'll get your anima back, you'll get your renown back, you'll get your gear, your mounts, etc. All that stuff comes right back to you. Each covenant is their own little town essentially, and whatever you gain in that covenant stays. So you can swap around like I did, like I've been every covenant, like I said before, and knowing that I can go back into my first covenant, which was Venthyr, and have that 8k anima set up and my renown still there, you know, it makes it a little safer to swap out. Now I do recommend if you want to switch covenants to switch early, don't try to ride it out and then end up switching at the end, because there is a process of swapping where you have to do the whole campaign storyline and build your renown up. And if you're swapping when the renown's at 31, you have to do that full campaign quest. And there's sections in the campaign where it just stopped and you have to get 2 or 3 renowns from dungeons, PvP, raids, etc. until you can continue the campaign story. Now, it might not seem too bad because you're running dungeons and raids anyways, but the renown doesn't always drop. So you have to run a bunch to get 2 or 3 renowns, and then you can go back to the campaign, you do a couple quests, you get a couple renowns, and then again, you gotta run dungeons and raids and PvPs. So when the renown's not very high, it's not too bad because you only hit 1 or 2 of those stops. But as the renown gets higher and you keep hitting, you know, 2 or 3 renown blocks where you have to do other things to get it, it is going to take longer. It is going to be harder to get your renown back up. I switched to Kyrian not too long ago, and to me it's felt noticeably different to get to 21 as opposed to it was to get to 18. So keep that in mind if you want to switch covenants. It does take a little while to do it. It's not really hard because you're just doing stuff you normally do, but it can feel a little tedious when you don't get the renown drops you need. And the higher we go in renown, just the longer it's going to take. So if you're going to swap, make the swap, bite the bullet and restart, because it is going to be harder and take longer to get to the higher renowns as we continue in the Xpac. So that is switching from one covenant to a new one. Now, if you want to go back to the previous covenant, you have to go talk to the leader again, say you made a mistake and you want to come back, and he'll give you a quest called Prove Your Worth. Now, Prove Your Worth, you have to fill up a 0 to 100% gauge in the area that you want to switch to. And you can fill that gauge from doing dungeons, world quests, opening chests, or killing rares. It's 12% per dungeon boss, 8% per world quest or chest, and then rares give you a 6% on that gauge. Now, once you fill that up, you go back, you turn the quest in, and nothing happens. You have to wait until the weekly reset on Tuesday, in which he gives you the same quest again, and you have to refill that gauge. So if you're going to swap to your previous covenant, your best bet is to do it Monday night, do that first Prove Your Worth quest, go to sleep, wake up Tuesday morning, pick up the next quest, refill it, and then bam, you're back in the covenant. You can kind of back to back Monday night, Tuesday morning, back in the covenant, no stress. Otherwise you end up waiting the whole week, and that kind of sucks. So make sure if you're going to swap back, you switch back on a Monday and then finish it off on Tuesday morning. That way you don't miss too much stuff throughout the week that you could be doing for a covenant. Also, if anyone's curious, maul progression is not related to covenant anymore. I think it was like way back, but now it's completely separate. So don't worry about losing anything in the maul when you switch covenants. It all stays there. Next up, we're going to talk about rogue covenant abilities. We're going to start off with Kyrian. Kyrian's ability is Echoing Reprimand. It deals 110% of attack power as arcane damage to an enemy, extracting their anima to anima charge a combo point for 45 seconds. Damaging finishing moves that consume the same number of combo points as your anima charge function as if they consumed 7 combo points. So when you use this ability, it's going to do damage, but it's also going to light up one of your first 4 combo points. If you use your finishing move on that combo point, it will act as if it's a 7-point finisher as opposed to what it actually is. So if your second combo point lights up and you use Eviscerate or Dispatch on that second combo point, it will actually act as a 7 combo point finisher as opposed to a 2. This ability is really fun. I think it's a cool little change in how you do things. I don't recommend breaking your rotation to get to the combo point, like using a shiv or a pistol shot in order to get one combo point. Just let it go naturally. If it pops up, it pops up. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. It lasts for 45 seconds. The cooldown on Echoing Reprimand is 45 seconds. So if you miss it, you can just use it again and go for it another time. It can be a little tedious when you get, say, the second combo point and you're always finishing with at least one combo point refreshing into it, and you have broadside or something, you feel like you're never going to get it. Don't worry about it. If it doesn't happen naturally, re-up Echoing Reprimand and try again. Your second ability from Kyrian is Summon Steward. You summon this little owl thing. He gives you 3 charges of a File of Serenity, which is very good. It gives 20% health and removes all diseases, poisons, curses, and bleed effects. Now, it's on a 3-minute cooldown that can be reduced if you go into the Pelagos Soulbind, but even at 3 minutes, the 20% health and the clean slate from all your dots and bleeds and stuff is a really good perk. You can also talk to the steward, and he gives you a couple different options. You can sell some stuff to him, you can rechange your talents, you can even have him do a couple different things in like Torghast where he buffs your party or he heals your party, you know? There's a lot of different functions to the owl that is helpful. Not crazy good, but they're helpful. Next up, we're going to go to Venthyr. Now, the Venthyr ability is Flagellation. Flagellation lashes a target 3 times, dealing 6% of attack power and shadow damage, and adding a stack of Flagellation for each lash. The target remains tormented for 20 seconds, receiving an additional lash for each combo point you spend. Reactivating Flagellation cleanses their torment, increasing your haste by 0.5% per stack, up to a maximum of 15% haste for 20 seconds. Now, this ability I think works better for sub rogues because you're able to fire off so many abilities and combo points in a short amount of time, especially with Dance or Shadow Blades and Symbols of Death. But for Outlaw, I feel like it's not as great. You do generate combo points very quickly, but you do use a lot of different moves, and having an ability cost 2 global cooldowns because you have to use it once and then use it again just doesn't feel as effective as Outlaw as it would for Sub, because Sub you do have that downtime in between dances. It's a good ability with the 15% haste, but it's not my preferred ability. I was Venthyr as my first Covenant, and it was fun, but there was too many times where you had to move away from the boss and you lost that ability to get the 15% haste, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the ability. The next ability from Venthyr is Door of Shadows. Now, Door of Shadows is awesome. I think it's actually super cool. I think they could change it a little bit and make it a little faster because it does take some time to cast. But I think it's fun. You just teleport through the shadows. It's almost like Reaper from Overwatch, and you pop up. It's good for classes that have low mobility because you can just teleport to places, even if you want to go up somewhere. So if you're trying to run around and just normal world quests and do stuff like that, and you need to get to a ledge, you can just teleport up there in most cases. Overall, I think it's a fun ability. I think it looks really cool. The animation's nice. I wish they would increase or decrease the cast time, I should say, so make it a little bit faster to pop off, and then you could use it in more situations. Now, the next Covenant we're going to dive into is Night Fae. Night Fae was my second Covenant, and I think it holds a lot of promise to being very good in the future. I think it has some of the best soul binds out of all the Covenants, and I think you can use it in raids and in Mythics very well. Now, the Night Fae ability is Sepsis. Sepsis infects the target's blood, dealing 162% of attack power as nature damage over 10 seconds. If the target survives its full duration, they suffer an additional 77% of attack power as damage, and you gain 1 use of any stealth ability for 5 seconds. The cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds if Sepsis does not last its full duration. Its normal cooldown is 1.5 minutes. If it doesn't last, it'll be a minute. Now, this is a really good ability because it does a lot of damage, it does a good burst at the end, and then you get that advantage of using a stealth ability. However, it doesn't have, it's not true stealth, so you don't get the effects of Mark of the Master Assassin, you don't get the effects of Count the Odds, unfortunately. You still get the effect of Count the Odds as like a normal one where it's like 20%, but it doesn't triple the duration and the chance to get it like it would if you were in actual stealth. This benefits both classes really well. Outlaw gets that ambush, which does good damage, and Sub can get the additional Shadow Strike, which generates 2 combo points and does good damage when they're outside of Shadow Dance, when they have that downtime in between CDs. The dot damage on it is good. The burst at the end is good. If you don't get through that whole dot, the reduced cooldown helps you use it again early on, which is also a nice benefit. Overall, it's a very good move. I wish it I wish it spread to other targets in AoE situations, because not a lot of our abilities are AoE oriented, and I would like to have a little bit of leniency into the AoE category. The next ability from Night Fae is Soul Shape. I think Soul Shape is probably the second best secondary ability below Kyrian. I think that potion is just really good for PvE and PvE, but Soul Shape is very good as well. It turns you into a Vulpin, teleporting 15 yards forward and increasing your movement speed by 50%. You may reactivate Soul Shape every few seconds to teleport again. It lasts for 12 seconds or indefinitely in a rest area. Now this ability has a couple different perks. It's indefinite in a rest area, which is nice because in the Night Fae Covenant you can't mount, but you can Soul Shape, you get that 50% increased speed, and you can kind of run around there a little bit quicker. The teleport also is really nice since it is indefinite, you can just keep teleporting. It's also really nice if you jump off a high area. The target where you Soul Shape to is always the ground, so you can do it right before you hit the ground. You won't take any fall damage. Helps a lot in the Maw as well, because if you have Shadow Step and Grappling Hook, plus you have Sprint, and now you have this too, you can make the Maw a little less dreadful before you get them out. Next up, we have Necrolords. Necrolords is in Mount Draxus. It was my third Covenant to swap to, and I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Their ability is Serrated Bone Spike. Serrated Bone Spike embeds a bone spike in the target, dealing 30% of attack power as damage and 10% of attack power as a bleed every 3 seconds until they die. Now, if they die or are healed to full health, you get a charge back. Serrated Bone Spike has 3 charges, so if you apply it to 3 different targets, as they die, you get charges back. Now, another nice thing about Serrated Bone Spike is the first time you use it on a target, it rewards 1 combo point. If you put it on a second target, it rewards 2 combo points. And if you put it on a third target, it rewards 3 combo points. So it's 1 combo point per active Bone Spike you get back. Now, it works a similar way in single target fights. If you apply Bone Spike to a target, you'll get 1 combo point. If you reapply Bone Spike again later on, you'll get 2 combo points back. Unfortunately, it doesn't stack up to 3 combo points. It only goes up to 2 because you have 1 active and you're using 1. Now on to the secondary ability of Necrolords. Another cool ability is called Fleshcraft. It says, forms a shield of flesh and bone over 4 seconds that absorbs damage equal to 20% of your maximum health for 2 minutes. Channeling near a corpse claims their essence to grow the shield up to 50% of your maximum health. This is most effective against powerful enemies. So when you kill something, you can Fleshcraft on top of it and you'll gain some of their essence and you'll generate a bigger shield. The stronger the enemy, the bigger the shield will get. What I like about this secondary ability is it lasts for 2 minutes and it has a 2-minute cooldown, so if you don't go through your whole shield in 2 minutes, you can use it again. It won't add to your shield, it still does a maximum of 20% to 50% of your health, but it is nice to be able to keep that up as often as possible. This is a really good ability to use before boss fights or any fight where you're going to take some AoE unavoidable damage. You know, you have that 20 to 50% shield. It takes some stress off your healer. You can survive a little bit longer. You can save your evasion and Cloak of Shadows for a bigger emergency. You take some shots, do a little bit extra damage, and that's always a plus. So that's it for Covenant abilities. Each Covenant has their own little niche where you can use them in different situations, and I really like what they did with Covenant. Now we're going to move on to my favorite ones and where I like to use them in. First, for dungeons like Mythic Pluses, I liked Necro a lot, especially with Fortified, being able to Serrated Bone Spike, a couple different adds, have that extra AoE working for me really felt good. I also really like the buffs they get from dungeon. Necrolords get 10% versatility for 5 minutes every time they use one of the flags in Theater of Pain, and in Plaguefall, if you Fleshcraft certain slimes, you get different buffs, and one of the buffs you can get is a 15% haste increase to you and your party, which is a huge benefit, and I like being able to do that every 2 minutes. Now, not on Fortified and on Tyrannical, I tend to lean towards Kyrian or Night Fae. I think their single target ability is very good, and the Venthyr ability, Flagellation, is good as well, but if any boss has you move around a little bit, which most of them do, you can lose that ability, that effect, that haste bonus really easily, and it kind of takes that ability out of the equation. Whereas Kyrian and Night Fae, you just put that on there and you have a lot of time to either match the combo point with Kyrian, or you let your Sepsis just wear off and pop and it does the extra damage that way, and you get the benefit of a stealth ability. As far as raids, there's a couple different ways you can look at it. Kyrian, I think, has the best single target right now. It might change due to soulbinds later on, but for right now, Echoing Reprimand is very good in single target boss fights. It's got a 45-second cooldown, it does good initial damage, and it gives you the potential of a 7 combo point finisher. Now, the other covenant I liked in raids a lot was Necro. Now, Necro's serrated bone spike isn't great on single target because it doesn't do a ton of damage. The fact that it never goes away is really nice, especially when you have to move around a little bit. You still have some ticking damage. It's not major, but at least it's on the boss. But the big benefit is the first Soulbind in Emony gives you and the people around you a primary stat buff. Now, it's not a major one for the people around you, but the more people it hits, the bigger your buff is. And in raids, most of the time, it's capped out. So when you use serrated bone spike, you're going to get an 11% agility boost. Now, it only lasts for 5 seconds, but you have 3 charges. So you can do that, get 5 seconds of 11% agility. As soon as it wears off, you can pop it again, get another 11% agility for 5 seconds, and you can do it a 3rd time. And then after that, you can kind of pop it as soon as a charge comes off cooldown, and you get that little buff, and you buff the people around you pretty nicely. Next, we're going to talk about Torghast. Now, Torghast is a very minor part of this expansion, but you do have to do it to get your legendaries. You have to do it every week, and it's changing, and they're probably going to make it a little harder than it is right now. The 18 floors just came out, and that can be a pain. So, for Torghast, I think the best covenant right now is Kyrian. Kyrian has some of the best anima powers I've seen through all the covenants, one of which makes your Echoing Reprimand, if you land on the combo point, deal a 20 combo point finisher. Another one resets the cooldown of Echoing Reprimand when you use it on that combo point. And then all that tied into the grappling hook, giving you a 400% increase on your finishing moves. You can do some huge damage. I did a Torghast last night, I did the 18 floors, and on the last floor, I was hitting the boss for 200 to 300k, and it just felt really good. It felt easy to use, and throughout Torghast and using the other covenants, I think I got the most use out of Kyrian. So that's my picks for my favorite covenants in their own situations. Now, if you want to look at the sims and look at what is like statistically the best covenant, they're all so close that it truly doesn't matter. Changing covenants is not going to give you the competitive edge that gearing or learning your class better will give you. They all have their place and they all benefit more in certain aspects and less in other aspects, but the damage is so close right now that it really doesn't matter. Just pick the one you like, pick the one that you think the area is cool, or the storyline's nice, or you like the way the gear looks, or if you like the ability, if you want to just go with that, go with that. They're too close to really have a definitive number one. They're all so close in damage that just pick the one you like, pick the one you have a good time playing, and have fun with the game. Stuff like this, where you try to min-max too much, can take some of the joy out of it. Pick the covenant you like, pick whatever one you think is cool, and just roll with it. And then as they change, as they balance, sure, we might find a definitive number one when the Soulbinds finish up and you get to that final one. But even then, just enjoy yourself, play the game, have a good time. And that's it, guys. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe below for more Shadowlands Rogue content. We're going to go over Soulbinds in each covenant in the next video to dive a little bit deeper into it. This, I wanted to overview the abilities so people can get a feel for it. I wanted to show people that swapping is not that big of a deal right now. If you're going to do it, you should just do it and explore all the different covenants to find the one you really like. And until then, guys, C93 out.